Hi, and welcome to a short discussion on client solicitor privilege. I bring up the topic a lot because it's important. The most important thing you need to know about client solicitor privilege, it's a great marketing tool for lawyers to sell their services. And here's basically the purpose of it, is to have a conversation with a lawyer in privacy where whatever you say cannot be used against you. The conversation is for the purpose of you safely obtaining legal advice to find out, did you really do anything wrong criminally? And are you going to need to prepare some kind of legal defense? Is this likely to go to court? And that conversation is privileged. Beyond that, there is no further privilege because anything that's in writing has to be put forward in a discovery if there's a court case. It could be released in a requirement to provide documentation. So the lawyer at that point can't protect the information. It's a matter of were you guilty or not, and the truth comes out. The devil's always in the details. The judge is going to get to know whatever the truth is, and that's the judge's job and the jury, etc. So don't think that the lawyer privilege is going to win the day. If you're guilty, you're probably going to find out. Are you going to get off on a technicality? Maybe, but probably not. Are you going to win the case because you had no guilty mind? If you had no guilty mind, chances are you're going to win the case. Client privilege wouldn't make any difference whatsoever. So let's just take a look at the real world. I'm not a lawyer, don't profess to be. And people come to me, and some of them have issues that could be considered tax evasion. So they come to me and they ask, will you take us on as a client? This is the story. Personally, what I do is I write down everything I need to know. And I write down what the client's objectives are. And it never includes, I want to hide that I am a tax evader. That's not what it is. If somebody's done something wrong and it needs to be corrected and it needs to be filed properly, that's what we do. And if somebody says to me something that may or may not be true and it may or may not be tax evasion, I have no need to know that. I don't write it down. And for the next week or two or three, I might even remember what they said. But when you consider that I meet an awful lot of people, some of them become clients, some don't. 3 years from now, do I remember the conversation? I don't. Do I think I can recall some of it? Yes. Would I guess at what was said? Absolutely not. I never guess about what was said to me because I could easily mix up one client with another. And I know that if I guess, it will be taken as a fact. That's how it will be recorded. And that's how it will be treated. So I never guess. And if it turns out that somebody says to me, well, I've knowingly been doing tax evasion, then I'll say, well, that's criminal and you need a lawyer. And the only advice I can give you is not legal advice. I can advise you that you better go see a lawyer. But is anybody going to come to me later and say, did this person come and confess to a crime? I have to answer, I have no recollection of that. Because I don't know if they committed the crime or not. They may think they did, they may have, they may not, and I don't believe anyone anyway until I see the facts. So I don't really see where client privilege is anything beyond an extremely useful tool to find out, are you in trouble? And if I think they could be in trouble, I tell them to go get legal advice. And where client solicitor privilege is meaningful. But in the day-to-day bump and grind of doing tax returns, it's so irrelevant to the outcome that it's not something that you put in your hat as one of the factors that you make a decision on. Do you hire a lawyer, an accountant, or a tax representative? Client privilege is just not a factor. So think about that and pick the person and the business that you feel the best about, that you can work with. And my parting information, and think about this very carefully, do not write 1 red cent for check. Do not make one payment until you have thoroughly read and understand the engagement letter, what we call a service level agreement. If you haven't read it, don't pay for anything. There are companies out there that have such one-sided service level agreements that you don't get anything for your money. As the Law Society says in one of their investigations, the contract was written totally in favor of the lawyer to the detriment of the client. That's out there. That's today. You be careful. Thank you.